Basically, Petroleum Club of Pakistan, originally we formulated this club in 2011, but it was a little bit not active. From last 2-3 years, we started to activate its activities. Basic objective of this Petroleum Club of Pakistan is how to help our government of Pakistan to the oil companies in making formulating policies, making a good standard practices in the industry. But because petroleum industry is a dynamic industry, and we have to learn from each others with respect to the good practices. We have already, we have already 4 think tank of this group. Petroleum Club comprises of about 5 subgroup. One group we have a LNG and UFG, unaccounted for gas and LNG issues. Other group we have a mineral exploration. Third group is the shale and tight gas, which comes under unconventional reservoirs. And fourth group was we have this power renewable energy. Already we have formulated one petroleum policy for the government of Pakistan. We have submitted that policy to the government of Pakistan, and they are reviewing it. I hope it will be implemented and it will be accommodated in the new 2021 policy. So we always work as a think tank and try to help our professionals in the enhancement of their technical capabilities. As we are arranging about, I think we have already arranged about 10 webinars on various issues. Another group we have is coal technology. So we are talking about coal gasification, how to utilize our core resources, which is biggest resources we have in Pakistan, and Thar coal in the Sindh area. And similarly, we have arranged a number of seminars just to make aware people about the shale gas, tight gas, UFG, LNG, petroleum exploration, and the challenges we have. And this, Kamran, this is your another webinar, another aspect, how to have a competency in our in corporate world. And as you know, the competency is the biggest component for the growth of the company, or for growth of the country, or for growth of the organization. This is the first component we should be having it. If you have a competent people, then you have a major chance of growing. Otherwise, you will be suffering a little bit here and moving in the dark. So that's a great thing. And I'm thankful to Tahir that he contacted you and you agreed on this topic. So please go ahead with your discussions, and probably we can start the session. Kamran, and you can introduce yourself to the audience, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Dr. Saab. Before I start, I just take a couple of minutes only just to introduce about the company. On Comia CEO Per is with us. It's a 16 years old company which has done almost 2.2 millions of assessment. Now, when you talk about that huge amount of that assessment which that has been offered across, so you can identify that on a global front how much work has been happening over there. Almost around, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Per, that is 150,000 active users of that. And basically that competencies framework have been happening in a companies like, which is a clientele of Per, with Comia, Schlumberger, Siemens, E.ON, Moller Energy, National Grid, Equate, ADNOC, and you just named it. So these are actually just to reflect upon all of my audience who has been over here, that today's subject is very critical. So when you talk about training, when you talk about talent management, if we don't have a core understanding about the subject today, we cannot go ahead without any aspect of it. So this is the subject. But would you like to add anything before I just move on? Just please.
No, I think it's very right what you say here. And as I said here in the very beginning, I think those companies that are able and organizations that are able to understand what kind of competence and skills is needed, I think that's the key for the future. And I've been recently involved in some quite large, very strategic on a national level skills transformation for Singapore and also in the Abu Dhabi, where we are looking then at how does the future work look in a 10-year perspective, and what kind of jobs will be disappearing, and also what kind of jobs do we see are needing to be both constructed and that are actually emerging from technology drivers and so forth. And since I've been very active here working with many oil and gas companies in the region, and also my my home origin, I'm a Swedish guy from the start. So in my country, the renewable energies that you mentioned here, initially here, is one of the big areas where I can see it's a huge development. And we've been developing a set of competencies for renewables and for clean tech. So that's one of the areas we've been working on recently. So I'm really excited, and I'm really happy to hear that you take this more strategic approach. So it's really, it's exactly what is the right decision and the right move to make. So I'm very happy and excited to listen in on how far you're getting and what are your direction and visions for it, because this is the right thing to do, no doubt about it.
Thank you so much, Bert. Thank you so much. All right, so now is the time. Yes, please.
Sorry.
Yeah.
One more thing. I just forgot. You said 150. We actually added about 100,000 users here just 1.5 weeks ago, when one of the UK government signed up for a big contract for one of the big ministries. So that was
really wonderful. Really wonderful. I understand that this sort of achievements are so much emotional that we have to keep it very much updated on that. Thank you so much. So this is just to reflect to all of my audience over here. Okay, now a few promises I'm going to make right now. Number one, whosoever is spending a time with us, actually, we are going to bring the gist of that core objective of this session, talk about talent management, and to understand the core philosophy of it. Because whatsoever we have been doing, it is without understanding the conceptual model of competencies, it's of no value. I might be making a big statement over here, but I'm going to prove you how. Secondly, what has been happening in this region, I'm going to bring those best practices because I'm being very much operational in that area, which is the GCC countries. So we are going to bring about some of the things, and with the presence of a professional like Per with us, of course, any point in time where we are going to have any of the input, I would invite Per to put his experiences into that as well. Number three, we are going to make it more interactive. So it is not like 1.5 hours which we are going to spend together, not like a monotony of a lecture from my side. Rather, we are been looking for that whatsoever we are been sharing, there is certain interactive part which I would invite you to put a vote into that or put the comments onto that. So we will proceed on to that. So now I have been sharing my presentation slide with you, which is we are going to see what is being right now with me. And then you will see that we are going to talk about what this competency subject is all about right now. So as I mentioned that basically we are talking about today's subject. I hope you can have my screen in front of you. So now if you look into that, we are talking about competency framework models and assessments. Now, this is something very interesting when we talk about why we are highlighting onto that aspect, why competency is important, how we can frame up that models around that, why it is necessity for an organization right from the big giants organization route to the middle level and even to the companies, even if you have been a startup and if you didn't know what the competency is all about, of course, then you are putting your business into a lot of danger because it doesn't have any sort of sustainability unless and until competency culture is not been there. And I think as an organization, as a country, if we are going to promote that competency culture within an organization, within a country, then this is going to be sustainable. So I'm just going to tell you that this is where is my mainly consultancy work or where is the capture of that experience. I've been here in UAE for more than around 18 years. And my majority of my work, when I talk about my trainings, my coaching, my consultancy, and the sort of stuff I've been actually happen to be all these 6 GCC countries. And this is include Kuwait, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Oman, UAE, etc. So in that instance, you will see that all the big giants, especially in the oil and gas sector and all the other companies where we get interacted. And today's session, we are going to present it to you. What is our learning, what we implemented, what are the challenges they are been facing right now, so that with the advancement of these companies, what they are been progressing, we can extract some of the lessons for us, and then we can do it for our organizations as well. Now, a bit of my introduction, if you have not been familiar much about myself, basically, I'm almost around 30 years of my global professional experience. I started my career from Pakistan with a company, Heavy Mechanical Complex. I had an engineering background, and then I moved with the various multinational companies. I worked with a Swiss company. I worked with a Norwegian company in a capacity as a global training manager. Right now, my role in oil and gas sector as a training advisor. And also I'm being a peak performance coach for the executive leadership. There's a lot of senior management. I've been providing them with my coaching and mentoring. I'm also a leadership trainer. I'm an inspirational writer. You might have seen these are the books which I've written, and some of them, they are being already translated in various languages. And I'm a professional engineer. Above all, there's one company which is Kinetic Talent Diggers. It's a US-based company, and basically I'm the chief talent digger for that. And this is a company I'm been utilizing, and myself and with the Pearl having a Comia, we are being here for that sort of service which we offer to the various sectors right now. Now, when I move on to it, let's do some quick survey together. Okay, you have been listening to me. What I'm going to do, I'm going to open up one of the mentee in front of you, and I would ask you to do one thing, is to go onto your website, on your mobile phones. And if you can share with that. I don't know whether you can see it or not. Let me first double check. I have to share my screen again. All right. Okay, now you can see my screen now. So what you are going to do, let's have your mobile phone in front of you and go onto the website. If you see at the top, www.mentee.com. Just go onto the website and you will be prompted with the code over there. So that code you have to put, which is written at the top, 56548078. So just put the code. So once you will put the code, then you have the window available for you. And the question I'm asking, what do you think is the current talent management challenge in your organization? So please feel free. You can write as much as you can. Any of your response which you are going to put is going to be appear over here. So please I'm waiting for your response. All right, all of you, please have your mobile, go to the website, www, and your response are going to be appear over here. It should be. I just want to check if you can send it. So I'm also doing it, www.mentee.com. All right, can you, Tahir, can you trial this one? Are you being able to do that?
Yes, we can do that. No issues.
All right, so I just need some response over there, whether you can get it or not. Because it should be appear over here. Just put the code. Yeah, now I can get that. All right, the best part is if you can also write down your name and then with your response, so it would be interesting that we can see that. Now, all of you who are seeing that screen in front of you, you can see that we are talking about what do you think is the current talent management challenges in your organization. The first challenge I've just, some of my colleagues has been written there. There is a variation in the intellectual level. As I correctly understood, it might be my interpretation is that we are talking about that the talent management concept might vary. So might be the top leadership has a different concept, the middle management has a different concept, and as you go down the line, it might have altogether a different concept. That might be one of the challenge that they are not on the same page. Then of some of the young generation understanding what type of new jobs will be required. All right, so that can be considered as another challenge that might be the young generation that didn't know what exactly is the job they have to go for. And also they don't have a clarity actually what that job required them to do. So for example, whenever we talk about our preparation for a job, it's not just a question of just doing the job, is the preparation of that required set of competencies which are being the part and parcel of the job. So that's very important. Then we got the response, it depends on how people are trained. Now that's very interesting because whenever we talk about training, and I've been in the training for quite a long period in time, that is a big dilemma because whenever we talk about training, we thought it is something off the shelf and we have to just train people for something. No, it is not like that. You cannot train people unless and until you don't have a clarity about the competencies. What competencies you have to be trained for? what areas you have to nourish these people, which area it require an intervention from your side. So if you say I've trained people, maybe you have trained them for nothing. Maybe this is have nothing to do with their competencies. And then we say it depends on the culture of the organization of size. If it is a multinational culture, all right, I can accept that, because when you talk about a global organization, please remember that you cannot operate if you don't have a strong competency culture, because other than that, you are not being consistent across. So I just got, you can add still the people who have put, they can still add multiple entries into that. If you still have more thoughts, please go ahead with that. The fifth one I just got, how to keep the workforce motivated, especially software developers who move from organization to organization. Now, the point is, this is something different we are talking about that. What makes me motivated? Now, when we talk about motivated, we are being so much job-oriented culture. I just need a job. Now, maybe for that job, whether I have the right competence or not, whether I have the right likeliness or not, whether I'm a right match for that job or not. So because I do not have a clarity into that dimension, so what happened that many of the instances I landed in some of the job which is not belong to me. So important thing is motivation require an alignment of my competencies, my preference, my strengths with the organization competencies and their alignment as well. So the another response I got, how to balance the behavioral competencies required with technical competency for future job. I must applaud that. I think whosoever has written that know the inside out of the competency, because we are talking about that behavioral competencies. Now, what I'm going to tell you, for example, when we talk about our future jobs, and let me allow to share that part. I've been working with a big giant organization, and that is a dilemma for the leadership, what they have got over there. They said that when their people are on the technical domain, and that's very interesting because we can relate a lot with our culture as well. They said when the people who are engineers and they promote them to the leadership position, what they got? And they said they got something, they lose sometime a very good engineer and they got a very bad manager. Why? Because the transition moment when it happened from the technical job to the leadership position, you require a different competencies. You don't just require those technical competencies to move forward. You require a different set of competencies. So in that instance, that behavioral competencies are being the fundamental. Now, if I ask you in your culture, when the people are being promoted in the managerial positions and the leadership position, are they being assessed? Are they being evaluated? Do they have the right stuff? Are they being trained enough? And if answer is no, you know what happened? Then the same scenario happened. When the people are promoted onto the leadership position and they do not have the right set of behavioral competencies, then the people started losing. The good people started leaving the organization because they don't have the right competence to manage with them, and they try to go ahead with their technical acumen into the job. All right, I think if there is nothing further, we have got something more. How to retain the right people? Are we motivating and incentive in giving incentives for the people with the right thing? Absolutely right. Retaining the right people. Now the question is, when we say what is the right people? Now that's a question I'm going to ask you. What is the right people? So you say, if I have to elaborate someone as a right or wrong, I should have certain standard. So what is that standard is? That standard is a competency. So for example, you are going to hire someone as a marketing manager. You have to hire someone as a IT developer. You have to hire someone as a mechanical engineer. Now the question is, do you have the competencies of that person? And if you are hiring for that position, not the person individual, hiring for the position, are you being able to evaluate the competency of that person according to that job? Now, if you are not evaluating, what is going to be happen? And if you are having a mismatch choice, then the organization resources are going to be waste. They are going to go down the drain, because in that instance, you are putting the square into the round hole, square peg into the round hole. So it's a mismatch altogether. That's why it is called the right people has to be there. All right, I hope you got the flavor of it, but I'm going to talk about that. So now coming back to the presentation, and let's see what I'm going to share with you. In that instance, let's get back to our presentation, and I'm going to once again talk about that. And you will see what is the outcome we are having right now. All right, so here we are. Now I'm going to tell you some of the challenges which the organizations are facing right now, because you have just shared some of your challenges. Now let's see what are the challenges the organizations are facing. Let's have a look into that. And these are, I'm talking about not specific to any region. Okay, because my work experience is more in the GCC region, so I'm going to highlight some of them, but it can be extended to some of the global domains as well. So many of the organizations around the globe, they are facing that. Number one, what they are facing. The organization around the globe, they had a pressure on the organization resources for learning and development. They are not being able to get the right resource for their learning and development. And that is one of the core areas. Secondly, in the existing COVID scenario, many of the organizations across the board, especially in the GCC country, because training and learning and development always comes secondary if the organization is not progressive. For the progressive organization, it always comes at the number one. But if it is not progressive, you know where the budget cut is? That is the area where the budget cut is. So they cut off the learning and development. So right now there is a shortage of the right resources over there. Number two, since the time the COVID has been happened, all the top-notch companies and all the other middle-level companies, there is a rush towards digital platform. So the organizations have to change their business models altogether. Now it is no more required that the people are actually has to come physically come to the office space. So they have categorized who are their critical resource to be available in the office and who are the people they can just stay back at home and can do their job. One of the research I was been going through that, and they have been identified that now actually the economy is also moving towards a gig economy. And the gig economy talk about that maybe in the near future, the organization would not require to employ people for a longer duration in time. They might go with the project specific job with them or the shorter duration, because these are the skill and competencies which they require, not throughout the year for some of their operations. They might require on a project to project basis. So basically the digitalization of the concept have been speed up. And I have seen in the GCC countries and many of the organizations, there is a stronger drive now to move on to the digital platform. Even some of the companies where they were having a bigger budgets for what you can say the learning and development, now they are actually take a sort of an agreements with the service provider, the renowned organization. They are utilizing their e-learning platforms. They are utilizing some of their learning resources. So this is a big drive. So if you have been in Pakistan, so don't think about a traditional mindset of just going all the time physically to the space, because this COVID challenge is not going to go over very soon. So it is going to become a part and parcel in some way. And this digital platform is the answer for that. So we have to change our thinking towards that. Then also there is another issue. What has been happening right now in the organization is the engagement issue. Because, you know, since the time that COVID has brought in, the people who are being used to seeing their team in front of them, they are no more being able to see many people in front of them anymore. Now, the people who are being in the remote location or working at site, they are not that much engaged. And that is a lot of challenge for the organization, how they can make their people engaged. So this is another area in which the talent management is going through that. There is a lot of online courses portal now being in demand. You might have seen that since the time that COVID has been happened, many of the organizations, they are also offering a free sort of stuff for you, and you can online enroll yourself in the online courses, and you can go and do your stuff over there. Now, there are three areas I would like to highlight based on that experience with the GCC countries, which is being very critical right now if I talk about these Gulf countries. One is the area of knowledge management. Now, knowledge management is an area, if you see that in all the GCC countries, there are two types of population. One is called, which is the locals. For example, in Saudi Arabia, there are the Saudis, there are Emiratis, there are Qataris. And there is another workforce, which are the expats like us. So we came from different part of the world, and we have been working together. Now, the point is why they hired us, because we have that amount of experience and exposure at our back, and we are being hired, but we are very expensive for them. Now, few years back, not many of the youngsters in the Gulf countries, they are being into the education. Now, after the second and third and fourth generation, there are a lot of many of the youngsters, they are being getting their education from renowned universities across the world, and they are being coming back. Now they are facing the pressure, how to inject them into the economy. That's why you might have seen that especially Saudi and UAE, etc., they have been on the drive of rapid Emiratization and Saudinization as well. But the challenge area is how to replicate that experience and skill set with the expats are having. So for example, if an expat who's having a 30 years of experience and suddenly on 40 years of experience, and when they reach to the retirement age, they have to get back to their country. Now, the point is when the younger generation, and by the way, there are almost 60% of the population in the GCC countries, especially, they are less than of 35 years of age. Now, you can well imagine the people who have been coming in having a lesser amount of experience, and the people who are going out is having much amount of experience. Now, there's a bigger, wider gap. And that gap is a knowledge management, because the organizations would like to retain that amount of knowledge and experience from the expats into their organization. So this is a challenge area. So if I ask you, if we are being a company in Pakistan, if we are a company across the world, where should we focus in? We should try to get into the nerve center and we'll see what is the pain points over here in this area, and we have to nourish ourselves. What would be the ways and means in which we can facilitate the bigger organization to retain that knowledge management? And that's why I'm saying you cannot do any knowledge management if you are not being aware of what competencies you have to retain, what competencies you have to train your workforce, if you are not being aware of. So for example, if some expat is going to leave the company, what competencies you would like to transfer to your youngsters? So this is a knowledge management. Secondly, professional career ladder. Now, many of the organizations, they have not having a very defined, there is a what you can say, a transitional point happened that people who actually, especially in the organization of an engineering sector, when the people grow into their career at certain point in time and they lead to the management cadre, what happened? That transition is not easy, because might be I'm a very good engineer, but the moment you ask me, okay, now you become the manager of certain facility and you have to manage 50 engineers underneath, I'm going to be a total disaster, because in that instance, I don't have the right competency. And secondly, I'm going to frustrate those people as well, because if I'm having a hardcore engineering acumen, I would like to have a technical domain for my career growth. I'm not interested in the management growth. So these professional career ladders are going to be devised so that people having a technical acumen should progress through the technical side, and the people having a managerial acumen should go through the managerial career ladder. Interesting subject. Now, my question to you, how you can develop those career ladders? If you don't have a competencies, if you do not know what competencies are being required on different level, you cannot develop any person over there. And similarly, another point which has been happening right now, if you want to grow people into a successor position, what successor has to do, what competencies they have to develop within themselves. Now, if I ask you, what is the culture in many of the organizations? People demand, exceptions might be there, people demand their, what you can say, their progress by virtue of their number of years associated with the company, by virtue of their loyalty. So they might expect, all right, I've spent 20 years in a company, so I deserve to be a general manager, for example. My dear friend, this is a total disaster, because 20-year experience does not mean that you are equipped yourself with the right competencies to become the general manager of a company. So the succession planning came out again with the clarity of the competencies which required to be fulfilled in order to address further. Then there is another interesting challenges happening in these countries, and especially I'm talking about from the Gulf context. There is a rapid drive for the ladies, because they have what you can say, they have a clear-cut policy that they have to brought up a lot of local ladies into the leadership positions. Now, when you are being talking about ladies into the leadership position, I always quote one thing. And that is very interesting. I'm going to talk about that. Please try to understand this aspect, what I've been saying. Getting a title does not make you, what you can say, competent for that job. Just getting a title. For example, let me take this example. I have a water bottle in front of me. All right. So if I say this is a water bottle, you can see this is a water bottle as well. Now, if I change a title over here, if I put the title of honey. Now, my question to you, if I just change the title, does it become honey? Answer is no, because the content will remain the water. You cannot declare it as a honey because the content has to be changed as well. So my dear friends, whenever we talk about competencies, even people are promoted to the managerial position or the leadership position, they are not the leaders because they do not have the right content. So this is another challenge where if the people are rapidly promoted, so they need to ensure their right competencies. And one more challenge which is happening right now in terms of competencies in the leadership role, actually, this is where I've been doing a lot of engagement surveys and being a part of that team which has been doing that. There are a lot of people who are being not available in front of you. For example, that model which has been rapidly changed since last year, the people are being asked to operate from their home, or from some of the people who are being working at sites, they are actually stuck at site for months. Now they go into a different psychological pattern altogether. Now, if I'm a leader, if I'm a manager, this is not in the textbook. This situation has not been described in any scenario that, okay, if your team has been stuck and something has happened like that, which is a pandemic situation, how you are going to lead the team. This is another area where you require a different set of competencies, how to do that. So overall, what is the impact is happening in the talent management is that there is a decrease in the talent management budget right now. So companies are shrinking onto that part by virtue of some of the disruption in the business which has been happened. There is also a decrease in the talent management staff. Why? Because there's a lot of digitization they would like to promote. They don't want to, a lot of people should be available. So right now the leaders would like to have all the results, all the competencies, all of the succession planning on their mobile phones. And this is what right now, for example, the tool of Comia, which we have been providing to the customers, even the top leadership can see that instantly what is the competency scale, which area they require to promote their people, which areas they require to have more developed competencies for them. Then there is a decrease in the utilization of external suppliers. Since the time this COVID scenario has been happening, now the organization across the globe, they are being actually developing their internal resources to take care of that. So they are developing their internal coaches, they are developing their internal trainers. So this has been happening in that way. Then there is an increase in the utilization of subject matter expert. As I mentioned earlier, that we are going through a gig economy. And that economy required that, for example, I don't require people for the longer duration in time. I just require their time according to my project. I don't want to take all the liabilities at my end. I would like to engage your skill for certain tasks. So in that instance, the subject matter experts are being developed internally and also being in demand externally. And as I mentioned, usage of digital solutions has increased, and online digitization, online competencies evaluation, this is the crux of the matter. So I hope you got a bit flavor of it, but I've been talking about the talent management is the crux of the matter is that we have to work and build upon those competencies around that. Now, let's get back to our mentee once again, and I would like to invite all of you, if you've been ready with that. So let's see, we are going to move on to the next another survey with us, and be ready with your presentation. Okay, so I've been moving on to another mentee, and this is now we are talking about the talent management priorities. This time we can do some sort of voting right now. We can see that, and please, now this time you have to put a different code altogether. Just go onto your mentee and just put the code, go onto www.mentee.com, and this time put the code 43277200. Now, what is the question I'm going to ask you? What are the top 3 priorities of a talent management in your organization? Now you have to vote for it. What are the top 3 priorities for you? So for example, there are some addressing the COVID-19 challenge is one, achieving the growth target is another one. Reduction of cost, improvement in customer experience, employee well-being, employee organization culture. So please go ahead with that. You have 3 choices. Anyone, you can vote for that. You have 3 votes you can cast onto that. And then we can see percentage in our audience, what they are being evaluating and what they are being seeing that. So let's go ahead with that. We have got 3 votes up till now. The people have utilized their choices. Up till now, they said that there are 3 top priorities for talent management in their organization is actually related with improvisation of organization culture, employee well-being, improvement of customer experience, and we have also got achievement of growth targets as well. All right, and reduction of cost and addressing COVID-19 is still 10%. We have got only 4 votes. I would recommend all of my the participants who have been there, please you can vote it through your mobile phone. If you go on to just open up through Google www.menti.com, and then there will be a window will appear over there, and you can put your code 432777200. So you will be open up onto that screen, and whatsoever you are going to vote, so it will be reflect over here. So I would recommend some more voting over here right now, and we can see what is the outcome we are getting. So again, we have said up till now we have got improvement in organization culture, employee well-being. All right, now we got, you see that that is the sample of what we have been collecting right now with the collective one of 5 votes up till now. We have seen that 23% are saying that improvement in customer experience is the top priority of talent management. All right, that sounds very interesting, because at the end, then I will take you back to some of the international surveys, and we can relate ourselves, our results over there as well. So let's see what is the further we can get it over here right now. I will wait for another few seconds. Please go ahead with that. 23% up till now. All right, so improvement in customer experiences, that sounds very interesting. That the participant right now, they are feeling that improvisation in customer experience is the core. All right. Okay, 10 more seconds, and then I'll move to the next slide. All right, that's fair enough. We have got up till now, which is improvement in the customer experience with our sample size. Oh, that's very interesting. Now we got something more right now. Now improvement in customer experience, employee well-being, improvisation has been increased. Now you can see actually this is something is the burning issue. So we acknowledge that these are the part and parcel. So just to have that figure in front of you, and then we are moving to the next slide, and we will see what is the next question in front of you. All right, now the next question. Next question to vote for. Which function in your organization there is a need of talent development? What do you think? So for example, as per your experience, where you would like to add more? Do you think that in the general management it requires more development? Do you think in IT it requires? Do you think it customer service it requires? Do you think sales management it require, or learning and development and risk and compliance? Please go and vote for that. So you can do a multiple voting over there as well, and we will see what is the response we got. All right, that's interesting. Okay. All right. Oh, that's interesting. Learning and development. And then IT and the general management as well. For those of my friends who actually would like to participate in this online evaluation, which we have been doing right now with your feedback, you can go on your mobile phone and you can type www.menti.com. You can see that tag that at the top of this slide. And then when it open up, you can put the code 432777200. And once you will put it over there, you can access to that screen and you can put your voting over here as well. All right, very interesting, very interesting. So what we got with the votes so far has been casted. 32% of our participants has said that they require their talent development in the area of general management. You remember what I told you? When the people are being promoted by virtue of number of years of their association with the company without assuring do they possess the right competencies, that is going to become a big dilemma for the organization as well. And number two, the learning and development. 26% are saying learning and development is the core area. And answer is very obvious, because the learning and development should be very surgical. It should not be like one tick off. It should not be like some sort as a traditional stuff which we have been doing for the sake of doing it, which is unfortunately many of the organizations are following that format, whereas it requires that we have to be very surgical. We have to be very focused. What required for us to develop us? All right, so please remember that. I'm been just switching back now, and we are going, I will show you the results exactly what we have got from what you can say the global surveys, what we have got, and you would be surprised to see that it is an eye opener for all of us. And let's see what we have got. I hope you have been enjoying that part, because as I mentioned, that's something we have to talk about, which is very practical, and we have to seek as a takeaway for us today. Now see, you have done some survey. Now I'm showing you, this is a global data which has been conducted by the companies like McKinsey. There's a mix of that data which I've been showing you right now. There's a companies like which have done their survey, Deloitte, the CIPD, etc. And now you can see the results. First of all, the global, they have took the sample of thousands of people, and they identify 36% of that population. They said their big challenge in the organizations right now is their COVID-19 related challenges. 36%. The organizations across the world, they are facing that challenge. Number two, 24%, they are saying achievement of growth target become a big challenge for them, especially in the last 2 years. So they have to revise their KPIs, they have to revise their growth targets as well, because they didn't know how to achieve that during that challenging time. Then 19% of the population, they said reduction of cost become the big issue for the organization. 18% said improvisation in customer experience. Another 18% said well-being of the employees become a bigger challenge for them. 17% said that improvisation in the organizational culture and improvisation in employee behavior is a big headache right now. 17% said increase in the productivity is the big issue. 15% said address skill shortage and skill gaps. I repeat that. 15% straight away said that there is a skill shortage and there is a skill gap. So when we talk about the skill gaps, the people are not competent. And that is the challenge. And that can be related with anything which you have been talking about right now. So let's move forward. What is the next for us? Now, which of the following types of learning and development has your organization arranged for, funded for employees in the past 12 months? So global data as compared to 2020 to 2021, they have compared and they have identified. For example, the gray one is the investment of that amount or the efforts which has been made in 2020. And the red one is the current 2021. Now see what is happening on the talent management. On the job training was the most priority for the organization, on the job training, because they would like to attain some skill set, certain competencies, which they can apply right on the job. In 2020, 61% of the population said that they have actually invested their training budgets on the job training. Now in 2021, the population said that only 42% of their budget has been spent on the job. Coaching more or less is the same. Performance coaching is a core thing, because you need to coach your leaders, you need to coach your employees how to be creative towards getting the solutions which are required to address some of their challenges. So 44% in 2020, now it is 40%. In-house development programs, which used to be 51% population said that they have been the budgets which they spend and the time they spend, now it has shrunk to 40%. Mentoring is more or less the same, 41 to 38. Formal qualification or accredited program, which was required for certain skill competencies, they have been decreased from 44% to 36%. Apprenticeship program has also been reduced from 35 to 30. Collaboration with the peers from 44 to 30. External conferences, which used to be, you might have observed that there was a time when there was a lot of budgets are available and the companies sending their executives for their external conferences, workshops, and events. It has reduced from 47 to 27%. And then the instructor-led training program on the job, 36 to 20%. Job rotation reduced from 29 to 16. Reverse mentoring is a process when actually you associate a junior person with a senior manager and you actually do the reverse processing, reverse mentoring onto that. And then there is other stuff as well. So this is just to give you an idea what is happening on the global front. And then we move on to, according to the last survey which you have done, you might have seen our survey was almost the same. The general management is the area where 30% of the respondents said that they need to be invested a lot of time over there for the general management area. Then there is a requirement, the global companies, and I'm talking about this survey which has just been taken in May 2021, very recent. So the global respondents said IT and digitization is the area where 27% said that they need to develop their talent into that. 20% said that customer service is the core area. 17% said sales and relationship management is the core area. 14% said learning and development is having to be a continuous budget has to be spent onto that. The legal risk and compliance, 11%. You know why they are talking about risk? Because with the introduction of that different business model, a different risk has been introduced. I'm going to share you some of the recent, we have been working with one of the client and that they said that people has gone through a huge amount of psychological stress because every time when you are talking about, for example, the COVID related testings and things like that and sharing of data and things like that, that has induced a fear within themselves. And number two, because of the COVID related restriction, you might have observed now, I think UAE and Saudi just recently had opened up their airlines to operate from red countries. Now, what happened? There are a lot of families that got separated. There are a lot of people they are just being that stuck in their countries. They are not being able to come back to their job. So when they are not coming back to their job and they are separated from their family, you can imagine what amount of stress they have been going through that. And that stress is actually going to be a bigger risk for the organization. For example, if I'm being inside the plant, and if I'm operating $1 billion plant and I'm under that state of mind in which my family is being stranded somewhere in the country and I'm not being able to bring them back, I'm a source of risk. Then marketing and research and development, etc. So I hope all of my colleagues who are listening right now, who are seeing that data, this is the global perspective. This is something which has been happening right now. How much we have been aligned with that? Is it just training is one aspect where we have been talking about, okay, this is the training, this is the budget we have to deliver, or we have to actually enhance the canvas of our thinking. So now what is the solution we are going to talk about? Which skills areas are in greatest need of improvement among employees across the globe? Now you can take the note of it. There is a need of technical and job specific skills. If you have been associated in learning and development, and if you have been a leaders in your organization, you just simply don't require a generic sort of stuff. You require them for the technical job specific skills. And that job specific skills cannot happen if you are not been having any of the competencies you have been established for them. Then there is quite a huge amount of requirement for communication skills. There's a requirement for planning and organization skills. There's a requirement for team working skills. There's a requirement for customer handling skills. And there is a huge amount for problem solving because we are exposed to that amount of problems and challenges which we have not thought about before. And then there is because of the rapid digitization, we are also looking for advanced digitalization skills as well, and also the foreign language skills. So for example, like people like us who have been here, in order to communicate down the line, we need to have a language skills as well, not only the technical competencies. So this is just a reflection onto that. Now, what is the solution? That is something, and what is the competencies can do that. Now, if you look into that talent management cycle, what we talk about, there is one thing which is missing in the center of it. If you don't have that, you cannot do any of these things. You know what is that missing element? I will come at the end, but let's see. You cannot do any career and succession planning if you are having that missing element. You cannot do learning and development if you are having that missing element. You cannot do performance management if you are having that missing element. You cannot rightly utilize your resources. You cannot retain and recruit the talent. You cannot ensure their certification. You cannot perform any work for analytics. You cannot develop any competency job design if you are not having a competency framework with you. As simple as it is. If you don't have a competencies, if you don't have a competency models for the jobs, so I'm using this word again and again. Now the question might come, what this competency job model is all about. I ask you a question, a very layman example. If you have to hire, let me share some very interesting example. I think it was almost 10 years back. I was managing one of the largest technical training center in oil and gas sector. One of my instructor came to me and he had a complaint about one of the student who was being very nasty, he's always been there disrupting the class and things like that. And he said, Kamran, would you like to have a word with him? I said, okay, bring him in. And he bring that local, he was a local Emirati, and he brought me in front of myself. Once he was been there, he was thinking that now Kamran, being the head of this function, is going to reprimand me, is going to penalize me and something like that. But I did something different because I would like to inculcate something of value into that youngster about why it is more important for him to develop himself. So I asked a question. I said, I had some favor from you. And he was surprised because he was thinking maybe I'm going to reprimand him. He said, all right, I'm going to do that favor. What is that? I said, is it possible, can you hire one driver at your home if I recommend? And he said, yes, sir, I'm going to hire that. You just tell me who is that person. And he became very happy. He said, all right, now he's going to be absolved by any punishment and I'm asking for some favor. I said, his name was Muhammad. I said, Muhammad, but it has one issue. He said, what is that? I said, this person has an issue. He didn't have a driving license. And he said, he didn't have a driving license, so how can he drive? But he said, no problem. He's going to learn. He's a fast learner. So once you will give him a job as a driver, he will learn on your car. And he was shocked. And he looked towards me and he said, sir, are you making a joke with me? I said, no, I'm very serious. He said, how come I can hire a person and my job as a driver and I risk 300,000 dirham of my car with my family inside, and having a person who didn't know how to drive, he didn't have any license with him, and you are asking me to take a risk on him. The moment he said, I said, Muhammad, just hold on over here. How much is the worth of your car? He said, 300,000 dirham. I said, Muhammad, you are not ready to take a risk onto your 300,000 dirham car with a person who's not trained, who's not competent, because you fear that this person can put your life and your family life in danger. Now you are expecting us to take a risk on you with $1 billion plant and with hundreds and thousands of people working inside a plant if you're not trained, if you're not competent. Now when I told him, so he got the idea. And that was a moment of truth for him, because he got the importance, what we are talking about. Now, my dear friends, if I ask you this question, while we are being in our progression, in our professional growth, we have heard hundreds and thousands of times, we have to develop ourselves, we have to grow ourselves, we have to go this, we have to do this. But the question is, if we do not have a clarity of road map, what is our direction and what competencies are required to be developed within ourselves, it's of no value. Because we might spend a lot of money, We might spend a lot of time, but it is going to be go down the drain. So what is my take? I hope with this example, you've got an interesting idea what I'm talking about. Now, this is a subject of when we talk about a competency framework. Now, here it comes when we talk about that Comia is actually an international company which is utilizing that tool, and they had almost 100,000 of that users which have been doing that. What it gives. Now, imagine you are the CEO of the company. Imagine you are the manager of your organization. What this result give it to you? It's very interesting. On the left-hand side of that first column, you can see these are all the set of competencies which are being identified. All competencies. And you can take about any position. For example, we talk about marketing manager. Now, what marketing manager, what competencies required, they are being all established on the left-hand side. All right, these are all the competencies. Now, when we talk about competencies, it has 4 levels. When we talk about awareness, knowledge, skill, and expert. Some say it's mastery. So again, 4 level: awareness, knowledge, skill, and mastery or expert. Now, you identify what level of that competency is required under this specific competency title. And you establish that competency framework for that position. Now, this is a highly specialized job. You can't do it unless and until you don't have a subject matter expert who had an enormous amount of experience. And that is the work where organization revert back to the consultants and trainers and the experienced people, and they are asking them, you have seen the best global practices, please come tell us what competence is required, what should be their level. Now, for example, we establish competencies for any job, a marketing manager. So what different competencies required? That person required behavioral competencies, that